I don't think I can have any more snot in me. There just can't be any more. There cannot be any more snot in here. Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot minute since I uploaded a video, especially a Becky's bounce episode, due to a number of things really. Not really having the motivation or any ideas of what to actually post. I like to try and post with intention as much as possible, and sometimes if there's just something, if nothing's there that I want to talk about or do a video about, then I'm not going to force it. You know, this year is all about just going with the flow of things, not forcing anything and just seeing what happens. Plus the fact I haven't been well either. I'm battling with some sort of like cold throat thing. My right gland is quite swollen and painful and kind of itchy, which is really weird. I need to go see someone about that. I'm just drinking lots of lemon water, painkillers, steaming, all of that fun stuff. But I did think of a topic which would be quite good for a video, and that's what this video is going to be about. Drum roll please. Boom! I'm going to talk about why I'm going back to musical theatre. Going back to my roots, as it were. So, for those of you who don't know me, or you've come to my channel for the first time, hello, welcome. Where have you been all this time? Musical theatre is actually my background, and it's what I've trained in, and it's basically what I did for a huge chunk of my life. So, before the musical theatre, I actually did dancing. That was my go-to thing, and now in hindsight, you know, now being diagnosed with ADHD, it kind of now all makes sense because I couldn't sit still. I always had to keep moving. So I actually did ballroom and Latin dancing from, I think I was like 6, so maybe from like the age of 6 to 10. I don't know, I'd need to clarify that with my parents, but I think for like, yeah, from like the age of like 6 to 10 I was doing ballroom and Latin dancing. And I loved it. It was really great. I had a great partner, and it was really good fun. My teacher at the time wanted to close her ballroom and Latin dancing school down, which was a shame, and I thought this is a good opportunity to try and do something different. So I actually started to do tap, jazz and Irish dancing, which was very interesting. Had a little dabble at ballet. Wasn't quite my thing at the time. I did learn to love ballet, and I love watching the ballet. I'm in awe of ballerinas. I just think it's incredible what they do. But ballet for me, it just wasn't for me at that time. And so yeah, I went straight into doing tap, modern and Irish dancing, and I loved it. It was great. And my amazing teacher, who I'm still in touch with now after all these years, she set up a theatre club, like a drama club. And I signed up for it. I thought, well, you know, I haven't tried acting before, so let's give it a go and see what happens. At the time, I wasn't doing any sort of real singing, apart from just around the house, probably annoying my parents. But I hadn't caught the singing bug just at that point. It was more still the dancing and the acting. So I did my first show when I was quite young. Yeah, I was probably like 12 or 13. I did my first show, which was fun. That was the postman. And ever since then I just caught the bug really. I found a singing teacher, so I had singing lessons from the age of 14, and that was it. I was thrown fully into the musical theatre bubble, and I was dancing every week. I was auditioning for things. It was crazy, but I absolutely loved it. Totally got distracted by the postman, who just delivered my new fidget, which is called an infinity cube, and it just keeps going round, and I'm obsessed with it already. Anyway, going off on another tangent. Yeah, so that's when my love of musical theatre basically came about. And I will pop some pictures in amongst this video so you can see some of the shows that I did. But whilst I was on the Isle of Man, I was extremely lucky to be able to work with some incredibly talented people. But it was amateur theatre that I was doing, but the standard on the Isle of Man is, and it was and still is, incredible. And again, we were so blessed to work with some amazing people from London who were doing West End shows. Some of them were doing Broadway shows. So I got to work with some incredible musical directors, some directors, and I'm forever going to be thankful for that. Back of that, I went to audition for drama school, because that's where I thought, you know, my life was going to go. So off I went and auditioned. I actually only auditioned for one school, and I was so lucky to get into the school that I auditioned for, which was absolutely mind-blowing and bonkers. And then I did a year at LSMT. I might do a separate video on my experience of drama school, because it's quite in-depth and there's a lot to cover. And yeah, I lived in London for 2 years and did a couple of shows whilst I was there, and just couldn't justify living in London. I just couldn't afford to live there and try and work and try and get gigs and stuff like that. So that's why I moved down to Wiltshire. But again, that's a whole other story. But anyway, once I left London and I moved here permanently, I went through a period of probably like grief and denial, because I felt like I'd given up on my dream. So I didn't listen to a musical for probably 6 years. I didn't want anything to do with musicals. I was like, no, I'm done, I'm out, I'm not doing it anymore. However, I always wanted to keep singing. So that's how I got involved in doing more band stuff and having gigs and writing my own stuff. So from like 2016 up until 2020, I was just doing my own stuff, like producing my own music and doing backing vocals for bands and all of that sort of stuff. It was only 3 years ago, before the pandemic, that I actually really missed the musical theatre bug. Don't get me wrong, I was still going to see shows every now and again, but I wasn't obsessed with it as I was from like the age of 14. And I went to see a couple of shows and I just realised how much I missed it. I missed dressing up as someone else, getting absorbed into a character and just becoming someone else and telling a story and taking an audience on a journey. I mean, I do that, I hope I do that with my songs and my songwriting when I perform anyway, but it's just totally different. Being on stage and being in a musical or a play is completely different. You get such a different feeling. And I just really missed it. I really missed it. So I did do Rent the Musical back in 2020 in Trowbridge, which was my first musical show in this area, and that was great. It gave me that bug again. It made me realise how much work goes into it, and I totally underestimated and forgot how much there was to learn, depending on what character you are and you know, all of that sort of stuff. But I was like, whoa, it's crazy. But I loved it. I really loved it. And then we were due to audition and put on Chicago, but obviously the pandemic hit. So yeah, for those when it was the pandemic, when it was COVID, I was kind of just writing my own stuff, doing all that sort of stuff. But I said to myself, I've got to get back into musical theatre. Like, I've really missed it. I absolutely love it. I love everything about it. And so I wanted to keep an eye out on what was going on locally and just see what popped up. That brings me nicely to what I'm doing now. So I'm doing a show called A Walk Through the West End. It's a show that's predominantly a collection of songs from musicals from the past and ones that are really current and popular now. And I just rocked up and auditioned and sang a few songs, and that was it. I was basically like, yep, come in, let's, you know, welcome. And that's what I've been rehearsing for ever since. So we rehearse twice a week, but there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of medleys. I've got a duet. I'm doing some stuff from Six, which is so exciting. And yeah, I'm just really loving it, apart from the illnesses and all this other stuff. But I've had to really strip back on some other things, which is totally fine. I'm just going where my heart wants to go at the moment, which is musicals. But yeah, I just wanted to get back to it. It just feels, doing musicals and stuff, because it's deep rooted and it is my roots, feels easier to me sometimes than trying to stay on the wagon of constantly trying to release music and write and produce and have gigs and rehearse and, you know, get a band together. Sometimes it just feels a lot for me. It feels very overwhelming, and I sometimes just want to run away from it, which is not great. So I've got stuff ticking along. Like I've written a song with Stu. I've got some other songs I'm working on, but it's all at my kind of pace. and I'm sort of in control of when it all comes out and when it all gets released, so that feels good. But yeah, I'm very excited. You can get tickets. I'll drop links in to where you can get tickets if you're local. And just watch this space. I know they're doing My Fair Lady towards the end of the year, so I may potentially audition for that. I might find something else, I don't know, but I'm just loving it. I'm so glad I'm doing it again. And yeah, thanks for watching, and make sure you hit the subscribe and the like button and come back for another episode soon. Bye bye guys.